You wouldn't survive winter in the Stone Age. And not because ancient people were superheroes and you are weak. Although, to be fair, you did once complain because your phone charger was on the other side of the room. Winter in the Stone Age was not a cozy season, with blankets, hot chocolate, and a romantic view of snow falling outside a window. There was no window. There was barely a wall. There was no thermostat, no grocery store, no electric heater, no weather app, no thick mattress, no vitamin gummies, and no tiny notification saying, "Cold front arriving tomorrow, maybe wear a jacket." Winter simply arrived. And if your group was not ready, winter did not care. It did not knock politely. It walked into your life, stole the warmth from your fingers, hid the food under ice, made every night longer, and then asked one simple question: how badly do you want to continue being alive? The first thing to understand is that the Stone Age was not one single place. Some people lived in warmer regions. Some lived near coasts. Some lived in forests, grasslands, mountains, river valleys, or places where winter could turn the world into a giant freezer with animal teeth. So winter did not mean the same thing everywhere. But wherever cold seasons were harsh, survival became a full-time job, not a cute little hobby, not a weekend camping trip where someone forgot the marshmallows. A job. Every day, every night, with no option to resign. Start with the cold. Modern people underestimate cold because most of us experience it as a mild inconvenience between a warm building and a warm car. You say it's freezing while wearing a coat made by a global supply chain and walking towards central heating. In the Stone Age, cold was not weather. Cold was an enemy. It attacked slowly. It entered through wet clothes, bare feet, thin shelters, empty stomachs, and long nights. If your body lost heat faster than it could produce it, you were in trouble. Shivering was not just annoying. Shivering was your body screaming, "Emergency furnace mode activated." But that furnace needed fuel, and fuel meant food. This is the cruel trick of winter. You need more energy to stay warm, but winter often makes food harder to find. That is not a design flaw. That is nature's customer service policy. The plants are asleep. The insects are gone. The ground is hard. The berries are finished. The rivers may be frozen. The animals have migrated, hidden, died, or become much harder to catch. And your body still expects breakfast. Rude. Ancient humans had to plan ahead. They had to know seasons, animal movements, plant cycles, safe shelters, water sources, and where food might still exist when everything else looked dead. They could store food in some places and seasons. They could dry meat, smoke food, cache the supplies, use fat, marrow, nuts, roots, shellfish, fish, or anything edible the environment offered. But none of that was guaranteed. There was no universal Stone Age pantry. No one opened a cave cupboard and found emergency dinosaur nuggets. If food ran low, winter became a slow math problem. How many people are in the group? How much food is left? How much energy does travel cost? Can the hunters find animals? Can gatherers find roots or stored foods? Can children, elders, injured people, or sick people survive on less? And who is quietly pretending not to be hungry so someone else can eat? Winter made calories political. Food was not just food. Food was heat. Food was movement. Food was immunity. Food was patience. Food was whether your brain could think clearly or just stare at a rock and wonder if the rock might be dinner. And fat mattered. A lot. Modern people fear fat like it is a villain in a wellness documentary. But in a cold, prehistoric winter, fat was treasure. Fat gave dense energy. Fat helped bodies stay warm. Fat could mean survival when lean meat alone was not enough. A successful hunt was not just about meat. It was about marrow, organs, hides, bones, sinew, and every useful part of the animal. Because if you risked your life hunting something large, you did not act like a picky restaurant customer. You used everything. The hide could become clothing, bedding, shelter covering, or insulation. Bones could become tools. Sinew could become cord, fat could become fuel for the body, and meat could become the difference between a miserable winter and a very short winter. For you personally. But hunting in winter was dangerous. Snow could hide holes, rocks, ice, and tracks that lied to you. A frozen river could look solid right before it became a murder floor. A desperate animal could fight harder. A large herbivore could kick, gore, or crush a human body with the confidence of something that does not care about your YouTube survival fantasy. Predators were hungry too. Scavenging a carcass might save your group. It might also introduce you to the original owner, who had claws and no respect for sharing. Winter made every meal a negotiation, sometimes with the landscape, sometimes with animals, sometimes with your own bad decisions. Then there was clothing. You would not survive winter in a t-shirt and confidence. Ancient people needed protection from wind, cold, wet ground, and snow. Clothing was not fashion. Clothing was portable shelter. Animal hides, furs, plant fibers, leather, sinew, bone needles, scraping tools, and skill could turn dead animals into life-saving layers. But making clothing took work. A hide did not politely become a coat because someone had a dream. It had to be removed, scraped, cleaned, softened, shaped, dried, repaired, and worn. That meant knowledge. That meant tools. That meant time. That meant hands that were not too frozen to function. And clothing had to be maintained. A torn seam could matter. Wet footwear could matter. Exposed fingers could matter. A bad boot, or whatever version of footwear your group used, could turn walking into punishment. Cold feet are annoying today. Cold feet in deep prehistory could mean injury, frostbite, infection, or not being able to keep up. And if you could not keep up, your problem became everyone's problem. Because survival was group work. Shelter was just as important. People imagine caves as the default Stone Age house. Cave equals prehistoric apartment. Very simple. But caves were not everywhere. And even when caves existed, they were not always comfortable, empty, safe, or conveniently located near snacks. Some shelters were rock overhangs. Some were huts or windbreaks made from branches, hides, bones, grasses, earth, or whatever local materials made sense. Some groups moved with the seasons. Some returned to known places. The key was protection from wind, rain, snow, and wet ground. Because cold air is bad, wet cold is worse. Wet cold is nature discovering sarcasm. If your shelter leaked, if smoke filled it, if the wind cut through it, if the ground pulled heat from your body while you slept, the night could become dangerous. Sleep was not just rest. Sleep was vulnerability. You had to stay warm while unconscious, which, as survival strategies go, is a very rude requirement. This is where fire becomes everything. Fire was not just nice. Fire was heat, light, cooking, protection, tool making, drying, comfort, and morale. A fire could turn a deadly night into a survivable one. It could cook food and make some foods easier to digest. It could dry wet materials. It could keep animals away. It could let people gather, talk, repair tools, tell stories, and remember that the universe had not completely filed a complaint against them. But fire was also work. You needed fuel. Wood had to be found, carried, kept dry, and burned carefully. In winter, that meant walking into the cold to collect the thing that saves you from the cold. Excellent system. Very funny. And if the fire went out, relighting it could be difficult depending on the tools, weather, and conditions. Starting fire in a modern home is easy. You click a lighter, you turn a knob, you press a button. Stone Age fire did not care about your button addiction. Fire required knowledge and patience. Dry tinder, spark or friction, good fuel, protection from wind, and probably several people silently judging the person who let the last fire die. Smoke was another problem. Fire warms you, but smoke can choke you. A shelter had to balance heat and ventilation. Too open, and the warmth leaves. Too closed, and everyone sits in a smoky cave wondering if breathing is still necessary. Ancient life often involved choosing between bad options and slightly less bad options. That is basically the official slogan of prehistory. Water was another winter problem. You can be surrounded by snow and still struggle for safe drinking water. Snow is not a magic bottle. Eating snow can cool you down. Melting snow takes fuel. Frozen rivers and streams may be hard to access, and water sources can still be contaminated. Today, if you are thirsty, you turn a tap. In the Stone Age, thirst might mean walking, chopping ice, melting snow, finding a spring, or trusting a stream that may or may not contain the microbial opinions of every animal upstream. Then came illness. Winter loves illness. Cold stress, hunger, crowding near shelter, smoke exposure, and poor nutrition can all make the body weaker. A cough in summer is annoying. A cough in winter, when you are hungry, cold, tired, and sleeping in smoke, is a much darker conversation. There were no antibiotics, no cough syrup, no fever reducers from a pharmacy, no doctor saying, "Get some rest," as if rest is available in the prehistoric economy. If someone got sick, the group had to respond. Keep them warm, bring water, share food, let them rest, protect them, slow down if they could not move, or make hard decisions if resources were disappearing. Winter did not just test bodies, it tested relationships. A healthy adult could help gather wood, hunt, repair shelter, prepare food, watch children, carry supplies, and defend the camp. A sick person needed care. An injured person needed care. A child needed care. An elder might need care but also hold knowledge that could save everyone. A group that abandoned knowledge was not strong. It was stupid with confidence. Survival was not only about muscles. It was also about memory. Who knows where animals move after the first snow? Who remembers which valley blocks the wind? Who knows where roots can still be dug? Who can repair a hide covering? Who can make cordage? Who can read tracks? Who knows when ice is unsafe? Who remembers the winter when everyone nearly starved because someone thought the weather would be probably fine? That person may be annoying, but annoying people with accurate memories are valuable. Winter also changed daily life. The days were shorter. Darkness came early. More time near shelter meant more dependence on stored materials, repaired tools, social cooperation, and firelight work. People could sharpen tools, process hides, make clothing, repair bindings, teach children, prepare food, tell stories, plan travel, and preserve knowledge. The winter camp was not everyone lying around dramatically waiting for a mammoth delivery service. There was work. Always work. If anything, winter made small tasks matter more. A broken tool mattered. A torn hide mattered. A wet sleeping place mattered. A child wandering too far mattered. A fire that burned too low mattered. A person who forgot to gather enough fuel before nightfall mattered. Prehistoric winter was built from tiny consequences. And tiny consequences love becoming giant consequences when you are cold. Now let's talk about loneliness. Because if you were alone in winter, your chances dropped fast. One person can gather wood, but one person also has to sleep. One person can hunt, but one person can get injured. One person can start a fire, but one person can also fail. A group divides tasks. Someone watches children. Someone keeps the fire. Someone repairs tools. Someone gathers fuel. Someone checks traps or tracks animals. Someone cares for the sick. Someone notices danger. Alone, you are not a heroic survivalist. You are a badly organized department with one employee and no sick leave. That is why social life mattered. Food sharing mattered. Cooperation mattered. Teaching mattered. Caring mattered. Not because ancient humans were always kind, peaceful, or emotionally healthy cave philosophers. They were humans. They probably complained, argued, got jealous, made bad choices, told terrible jokes, and blamed someone else for the smoke. But they needed each other. And needing each other is one of the oldest human technologies. Winter also shaped culture. Long nights around fire were not empty. Stories could teach routes, dangers, animals, plants, weather signs, and rules. Songs, rituals, jokes, warnings, and memories could hold survival information. A story about a foolish hunter falling through thin ice is entertainment. It is also a training manual with trauma. Children learned by watching. They learned how to dress, how to stay near fire, how to avoid dangerous ice, how to recognize tracks, how to treat tools carefully, how to listen when elders said, "Do not go there." And of course, some child probably went there, because children have been trying to speedrun danger since before history started writing things down. For ancient humans in cold climates, winter required preparation long before the first snow. You needed hides before you were freezing. You needed tools before something broke. You needed food knowledge before everything disappeared. You needed shelter before the storm. You needed fire skills before your hands were numb. You needed a group before you were the slowest frozen snack in the valley. Modern survival fantasies often focus on the dramatic moment, the hunt, the predator, the storm, the heroic person standing on a cliff looking very serious. But winter survival was often less dramatic and more exhausting. It was waking up cold, finding wood, repairing a cover, checking on a coughing child, scraping a hide, sharing the last good piece of fat, walking farther than you wanted, coming back with less than you hoped, keeping the fire alive, doing it again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. That is the part modern people forget. The Stone Age did not only test courage, it tested maintenance. Can you keep doing the boring, life-saving things long enough to see spring? Can you keep the fire fed? Can you keep the children warm? Can you keep your tools usable? Can you keep your group together when food is low and everyone is tired? Can you keep hope alive when the sun sets early and the cold seems personally interested in your bones? Spring was not just a season. Spring was a victory screen. If you made it to spring, plants returned. Animals changed patterns, water became easier, travel might become safer. New food sources appeared. The world opened again. But getting there required months of planning, labor, memory, skill, and cooperation. So, would you survive winter in the Stone Age? Maybe, if you were born into a group that knew the land, if the group had prepared well, if food was available, if fire stayed alive, if clothing and shelter held up, if nobody got badly injured, if illness did not spread, if predators stayed away, if the weather did not become especially cruel, if your group cared enough to help you when you became weak. That is a lot of ifs. Modern comfort makes winter feel optional. In the Stone Age, winter was not optional. It was an exam you took with your whole body. And the exam lasted for months. No retakes, no extra credit, no teacher accepting late work because your fingers stopped working. Your ancestors survived because they were tough, yes, but toughness alone was not enough. A tough person can still freeze. A brave person can still starve. A skilled hunter can still fall through ice. A strong adult can still become sick. Survival required knowledge, fire, clothing, shelter, food, memory, tools, and people, especially people. Because in winter, another human could be the difference between sleeping warm and not waking up. Someone shared food. Someone carried wood. Someone kept watch. Someone repaired the shelter. Someone remembered where to go. Someone told the children not to lick the mysterious frozen thing. Someone stayed by the fire when another person was sick. And sometimes that was enough. Not always. The Stone Age was not gentle. Winter was brutal, hungry, dark, smoky, wet, frozen, exhausting, and extremely disrespectful to toes. But humans had fire. They had memory. They had hands. They had tools. They had stories. And most importantly, They had each other. So the next time your room feels a little cold and you dramatically say, "I am literally freezing," remember this. Your ancestors survived winters with animal hides, fire smoke, sharp tools, aching feet, uncertain food, and a medical system best described as, "Please do not get sick until spring." They survived because they prepared, they adapted, they shared, they waited, they kept the fire alive, and somehow, through the coldest nights, some of them made it to morning. In the Stone Age, winter was not just a season. It was a test of food, fire, shelter, memory, and the group. And if the group passed, spring was not just warm. Spring was proof that everyone had survived the long dark together.